halfway through the season, and the championship continues to tighten up as the series stays in the Midwest and heads over to the virtual Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55, host of the fourth round in the 2022 WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Deisgns. Of course, welcome to our coverage live on the KBueno Racing Network. We're atop the broadcast booth here at I-55. My name is Kenneth Bueno. And of course, over the course of our season, we've had multiple different winners. In fact, that was just two added just last week over at the Port Royal Speedway, where Aiden Kirker got his first win of the season. We broadcasted our last one at Kokomo, Indiana, where Jamie Massey had taken his second straight win in the season after winning the opener over at Volusia Speedway Park. He is not here tonight, neither is Aiden Kirker, so that means we're going to have a fantastic one here tonight from one of iRacing's newest dirt tracks. And also, that is something to note. We're going to be talking about the newness of this racetrack and how it forms with these dirt street stocks. We'll take a look overhead at our KBueno track map. Of course, images provided to us by Google Earth, located over in Pevely, Missouri, not too far away from where we were a couple of weeks back at Kokomo, Indiana. It's a 1/3 of a mile racetrack and technically didn't open in 2003, but it was bought by NASCAR legend Ken Schrader back in that year. It's been operating, of course, ever since. You'll find a hefty 19 degrees of banking at every single turn and then 10 degrees on the straights, and easily could be the highest banked racetrack that we see on the dirt side, apart from maybe Bristol that we'll see 1 week from tonight before our season finale over at the dirt track at Charlotte, a couple of hundred miles or a couple of miles off of the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, which we've raced at on the asphalt side before. Of course, with the fact that we do not have Aiden Kirker or Jamie Massey here tonight, it means it opens things up for a potential new winner. And many different drivers are in this session, 14 to be exact, so I don't believe we'll have anybody going home. We'll just have everybody file up in their heats and the LCQs, and of course, just line up for the main 75-lap feature that is the same distance that we had just a couple of weeks ago in our last broadcasted race at the Kokomo Speedway in Kokomo, Indiana. Of course, there is a lot to talk about this racetrack, knowing that it is one of the newest on the iRacing service, and it handles a lot differently from Kokomo, Indiana when we were there a couple of weeks back. Remember, the outside lane so predominantly dominant at the Kokomo, Indiana racetrack, but here we may see more of an even spread between the outside and the inside. The banking will help in that case, and we'll most likely see the same thing at Bristol Motor Speedway just 1 week from tonight when we go for the green flag on that area of the season. And already halfway through the season, we've already locked in 3 races, so only 3 races are left to go. And with Jamie Massey winning those 2, Aiden Kirker winning the 1, and now with the whole field just trying to settle themselves through and maybe get a brand new winner here tonight, that means things are ultimately going to be a lot more exciting when it comes down to that fight for the championship, knowing that Massey's going to lose a lot of points, and Kirker, not here tonight, also will lose some as well. So drivers lined up right now on the starting grid. This is for heat number 1, an 8-lap heat that we'll have to settle our feature race. And of course, we will have all the drivers lined up on the racetrack to get things settled for you in just a couple of moments. We'll roll through our starting grid. It'll be Josh Patterson in the 02 taking away the first spot here in heat number 1. He'll have the 028 of Cameron McCone to his outside in that first row. Dakota Denyu in the 004. His Camaro lines up inside of row number 2 in P3. Matthew McDonald in the 96. He'll be outside in P4, followed by Ethan Harrison in the 77, Henry Clappert in P6, and Chase Gibbons in the 23 P7, the last driver in this respective heat. Of course, in this race, work very quickly if you want to end up a part of the main feature race. And if you want to start up, we saw track position be very, very vital when it came down to that 75-lap feature. We didn't have too many cautions out on the racetrack, so you also have to think about that. If we know that there's now less drivers usually in this field than there were over at Kokomo, Indiana, and for a good amount of the season, especially that season opener, things are going to change with the field size and how you're going to position yourself for a victory. Josh Patterson, Cameron McCone have the pace truck away from them. Green flag in the air. Our first of our couple of heats tonight from the virtual I-55 Speedway, Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55. Some door banging, 3 wide. That is Matthew McDonald getting used up in the middle of the racetrack and almost got hit by Chase Gibbons on the way there. Henry Clappert will switch down to the inside. They'll go side by side. This is 4th, 5th. A couple of drivers do advance here from this main session. Josh Patterson already with the highest spot of them all, securing that middle lane. And Cameron McCone trying to tail behind Dakota Denyu, aiming to build a run. They remain side by side behind your top four. That is Henry Clapper, Matthew McDonald still going at it for position. And McDonald falling heavily in the opening handful of corners as he got beaten and battered. Of course, these street stocks are tanks, so they can take a beating before they get some damage. But you do not want to push that threshold too far, as we did see a lot of the cars get some suspension damage. Of course, these tires very big, very wide, and they jut out of the side of the race bodies, so you don't necessarily hit fender first, you hit wheel first when you get that outside wall. And of course, with the fact that this is the dirt track, there are no safer barriers, there are no cushions, so if you hit that wall, you're going to hit it square, and you're going to hit those tires, and that's going to be the worst case scenario for you. At the moment, Cameron McCone still trying to tussle behind Josh Patterson, but they're still going at it for P6. Matthew McDonald slamming his way by Chase Gibbons, and they're going to continue to go at it. They've lost a significant amount of time to Henry Clapper and Ethan Harrison, the 77 and 34, who may go at it for fourth. For the moment, 3 laps to go. Josh Patterson already living up to his dirt name. We saw him get to victory lane at the Volusia Speedway Park in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. That was with the Xfinity Series cars, and one of the more oddball tracks on the schedule. White flag in the air for Patterson. McComb will have one more chance to retaliate, at least make a move. 1 and 2, slipped the track and lost some time. We'll try one more time in 3 and 4, but Josh Patterson will hold on through the middle lane, and Josh Patterson wins heat number 1. So Patterson, McComb, Denyu, your top 3. Ethan Harrison, Henry Clapper, Matthew McDonald, Chase Gibbons, the rest of the field after those little battles that we saw between Clapper, Harrison, McDonald, and Gibbons. The field order did not change whatsoever. That was our first half of the field, and now we get to our second half of the field. This will, of course, be our second and I believe our last heat. We did have 3 heats in the Kokomo, Indiana race. Of course, we did have more drivers, so that does explain why we're only going to reduce it to 2 to get half of the field qualified. Of course, where you finish is where you're going to start for the respective feature race of 75 laps. Brayson Collins, Jake Daniels, the 5 in the double O line are the first ones on row number 1. Paul Granada, Ryan Martin will be behind them in row number 2. You'll find Braxton Williams and Logan Hartman, the 001 and the 70 in 5th and 6th, and Nate Nepper in the 40 machine is going to be the final one in this 7-car field. Didn't see a lot of movement in that first heat, so maybe we see a little bit more. I think the biggest movement was the fall for Matthew McDonald after starting up in the front and then getting chased down by the whole field and could not pick things back up. Again, it's only 8 laps, so you don't have a lot of time to make your moves. You only have just a little bit, and then by the time you get settled into a rhythm, this race is basically already over, given the fact that we're going just a couple of miles. This is a 1/3 of a mile racetrack, so you're not going too far in that respective case. So we'll take one more pace lap. Pace truck will make its way down to the entrance of pit road. It'll be Brayson Collins, Jake Daniels to the green flag in our second and what should be our final heat of the evening before our feature race. Green flag in the air. Barney the flagman has it in tow. Brayson Collins, a push here from Paul Granada to the green flag in turn 1. And a solid jump by your pole sitter, technically, if we can call it, in our first heat. And Granada slamming doors with Jake Daniels. Going to whoosh. Daniels push him up the track. He'll be almost 3 wide. Ryan Martin in the middle of that. That black and white Limeade Media number 9 machine. You'll have Braxton Williams to the inside of the 001. Looks like the 009 will stay high up on the racetrack, trying to get the best out of the exit of the corner. Remember, this is 19 degrees of banking, and we'll see a lot of the field use that high side by the time things start to slicken out. The top 3, all single file, heading back to turn 1. You're right on board with Brayson Collins here in the 5 and how much work he has to do behind the wheel of this dirt street stock. Of course, this is the first step on the dirt ladder if you want to get forward in the iRacing service for dirt racing. I mean, you do have the choice between the Legends cars, but most drivers like to start with the street stocks. This is basically the equivalent of the asphalt street stocks, which is always the first step for drivers looking to advance on the oval asphalt scene. And these cars don't have a lot of power beneath them, but they're a lot of fun when you get them side by side like this as they go tussling for second. Ryan Martin slid up into the 04. Granada got way sideways, lost his momentum, so he'll have to hit the reset button. Coming to 3 laps to go to try it all over again. They are still side by side for P4. Braxton Williams maintaining the inside here on the 009 of Jake Daniels. Add in Logan Hartman in the 70 this battle here as well, but they single file out. Braxton Williams will have the spot. The 009 will try and push him into the corner and get him all sorts of out of whack. Maybe he could try and pass here in the last 2 laps of this respective heat, but it's Brayson Collins out of turn 4 to the white flag from Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55 in Heat 2. Granada a little bit too far back and got up into the marbles there, got up into the cushion, a little bit too high on the racetrack. Ryan Martin will try one last attempt, but Brayson Collins will join Josh Patterson, 2 heat winners here, and add in 2 different heat winners from our last week's race. At Port Royal, we had Aiden Kirker and Ethan Harrison win those heats, so Collins and Patterson, the 2 heat winners here. And I believe we are indeed in our warm-up session, so no more racing for position. Got the entire field together. Nobody is going home, so we'll have ourselves a full 75-lap feature. We should go over, I believe, 18 miles, or it should be wrong based on our last calculations from our last race here on the KBueno Racing Network at the Kokomo Raceway. Of course, we are only broadcasting roughly half the season. We do have the season finale 2 weeks from tonight at the dirt track at Charlotte, so we'll cover that for you. We'll have our championship drivers. We'll have exactly who's going to be lifting the title at the end of it all, but at least for the most part, we do have another broadcasting network giving you the coverage of what's going to be happening at the races. It showed you what happened at Volusia, showed you what happened at Port Royal, and they have their final broadcast at the dirt track at Bristol Motor Speedway. That'll be on the WOES channel, WOES. So you can look them up on YouTube and watch some of their broadcasts, and of course give them a subscribe and support their channel, a small broadcasting group over there. Got to give support to them and all they've done to put this series together between the 2 broadcasters, them and ourselves here at the KBueno Racing Network. You're watching drivers putting in laps for a warm-up right now, roughly a minute or so left in this, so we'll watch as the drivers do that. The track is still changing, so we may indeed end up seeing that outside lane becoming a factor. You can watch some of the darker shades in the middle of the track. That's starting to slicken up, so we may see drivers move up closer to that darker shade on the outside of the racetrack. We've already seen some do that in the second heat and even some in the first. But I think that 75-lap feature will give the drivers the opportunity to extend their hand out far outside of the racetrack and use the banking to their advantage. Of course, this is one of the highest banking dirt tracks we see in this entire season. I think the only one that could follow in the same tracks, of course, is Bristol, which has more banking, but that track naturally is an asphalt oval, so that's obviously going to have a lot of banking. This a permanent dirt oval here in Pebbly, Missouri, so you do have to also think how cool it is that they brought it in. And obviously, one of the new tracks here on the iRacing service, added it in just a couple of months ago in their June build as they go crashing into turn 1. That's Paul Granada, the 04, going over. He's the fastest in our warm-up session right now with 45 seconds remaining. But this track, of course, and graphically nice, and it is one of the newer ones on the service, and it took a while for them to stand. It also did the same thing with Port Royal. Those 2 tracks came basically in succession with each other. As iRacing a while back, they had teased some of the photos of what those tracks are going to look like, and I-55 and that coming up speedway that was hyped up by the dirt community. So finally, the dirt drivers have this racetrack, and it is a lot of fun. I've heard from a lot of the guys in that respective community and all the guys who not only race the dirt street stocks here, if they so choose, but race the dirt sprint cars here as well, so with the late models and all the other dirt cars that you have here on the iRacing platform. So a couple seconds left. That takes down into our warm-up session, and we will have your starting grid for this 75-lap feature here at the Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55. And so the time will tick down, the whole field will stop, and they will be behind the iRacing official pace truck. Well, we will have your official starting grid here tonight from Pebbly, Missouri. And you watch some of the drivers already loading in. It'll be Josh Patterson in the 02. Remember, his win in heat number 1, that puts him on pole. Brayson Collins, his win in heat 2 will put him outside of that first row. Cameron McComb, Paul Granada were second in both of those heats. They end up 3rd and 4th here on the second row. Paul Granada and Dakota Denyu will be the 2 drivers lining up in row number 3. Or rather, it is Dakota Denyu and Ryan Martin, 5th and 6th in row number 3. Ethan Harrison, Braxton Williams are the 2 in row number 4. Henry Clapper, Jake Daniels, the 34, and the 009 will line up the drivers back to the top 10. Matthew McDonald, Logan Hartman, Chase Gibbons, and Nate Nepper in the 40 will line up our 14-car field here tonight from Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-95. 95. Let's take a look at the weather before we get started here tonight from I-55. We've got a relatively cool night here in Sim, and we've been racing under the lights already since the start. Practice, I believe, was around sunset, but it was basically in this time. 71 degrees on the air temp, winds barely to the west at about 1 to 2 miles per hour. No humidity, no fog. It's a partly cloudy evening in Sim, so it is a rather beautiful day to go dirt racing, or rather a beautiful night to go dirt racing. Kokomo, we also did have a dirt race, but that was more so in the sunset. This one basically just an all-nighter. So go for 75 laps. If we stay green all the way to the end, we'll go roughly 20 minutes on our timesheets. And Josh Patterson will look to get his first win of the season. Again, mentioning at the top of the broadcast, no Jamie Massey, no Aiden Kirker tonight, so we will not have a repeat winner for sure here tonight at this racetrack. We will have somebody new getting to victory lane for the first time this season. Pace truck is off. Barney the flagman has the green. We're underway here at Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55. Racing Collins, Josh Patterson coming out of turn 2. It's a rather even jump on the first lap, but Patterson will have a nose ahead. Collins will try to get back on the outside, and already the slickness of the racetrack starting to form into fruition as Paul Granada hangs back in third. Collins will try the switcheroo inside crossover, and will hip check the 0-2 for a moment. They'll slam again once and twice. They almost go sideways around for position in the top 5, and here comes Granada making a three-way battle for P1 out of turn 2. Patterson looking to the bottom and hits the 5 machine. You're right on board with the 0-2 of Patterson. Finally takes the lead away back. And Paul Granada looks to be in a tussle here with Collins for second. Oh, now Patterson hits the outside wall, so that opens the door here for Granada to go back to the inside, maybe make it 3 wide. They are 3 wide at a turn 4. Here comes Collins in the middle, and they'll slam into each other for a moment, pinching all the way through the racetrack. And they'll shuffle Collins out of the way, but here comes Granada inside for the race lead on lap 6. Already some aggressive racing here at I-55 as Granada stays on the bottom. Patterson weaves his car up the racetrack, and that opens it for Collins to move into second. Don't look now. Ryan Martin holds his spot for third. A gorgeous outside pass for Granada to hold on to the race lead. And you're right on board with Martin. He's in P4. He is looming in the horizon for the top 3 as they finally get single file back to turn 3. You got to be very careful with how you make contact here. Of course, in the dirt, you are going to be prone to sliding into another driver, but you don't want to do so too aggressively as they're basically 3 wide. It's a hornet's nest around the latter half of the top 10. That's Bracton Williams. The 001 trying to get around the 004. Dakota Denyu all trying to chase the 77 to meet the Harrison. Sideways goes Williams after contact with Denyu, and now here comes Clapper to the outside in the 34. Maybe add in Matthew McDonald in the 9. The 6 did not do so well in the heat race, but is just trying to pick himself up as of the moment. They stay side by side as Clapper will remain up high, but Williams will be able to officially clear. Patterson has fallen back to 4th on behalf of a potential mistake, but he'll slam into Ryan Martin coming out of the corner, and that'll even them back up again in the middle of the apex, coming out of the final corner of the front straightaway. Ryan Martin hits the outside wall. I will try to get back to the inside of Patterson here, but here comes Collins inside for the race lead on Granada. There's the whole field coming by, and there are your leaders as Collins stays to the inside. Granada still trying to hold up top, and you can see that dark groove in the middle that has slickened off, and you can see the reflection of the sunshine, or rather not the sunshine, but the lights by the racetrack. That is the slickened part of the racetrack, and nobody going way higher than that little last seam. And so everybody's staying through the middle, a more even spread of the slickness on the racetrack, and nobody really taking the exact bottom either. A better exit out of turn 4 by Collins, and so he will stay on the rear end of Paul Granada's number 04 machine. You right on board with Granada, and there is no sign of that pink machine at all. That means Collins is down there. He is in 3 and 4, and Collins will sort of get by for a moment before Granada gets back on the outside, and they again make contact, and it'll invite Josh Patterson back in the mix. Collins gets loose. Granada will stay ahead and make it 3 cars into turn 3. Here comes Patterson for a move on the bottom. Patterson trying to get back to where he started this feature race in P1, and Collins backs out for a moment, but will stay close That 04 Granada, very competitive in the top 3. Remember, Patterson had fallen short of that 3rd position to Ryan Martin, but Ryan Martin has since gone past again as he stays in P4, and they have pretty much flown away from everybody else. There is a lap car up ahead. That is Nate Nepper in the 40 machine, the black and yellow Brandt car. So we'll see how the leaders take control of that in the opening 17 laps. As again, Collins will work that very inside, trying to do the most that he can to remain under that 04 Granada, but the banking, the 19 degrees, helping this 04 to stay ahead. A better exit out of turn 4 for Granada as you ride on board with the 5 of Collins. So they've closed in top 3. We'll watch everybody around the top 5 on back. Here is Matthew McDonald trying to get around Henry Clapper. We saw him still behind that 34. We look back to the battle between Williams and Clapper a while back, but ever since then, they have just kind of simmered down. They're all single file. Nate Nepper, you watch him in the distance there inside turn 3 and 4. He's holding on the inside, just going to let the entire field go by without any trouble as Clapper hits the outside wall. But now our first caution comes out, and it's Cameron McCone in trouble. The 028 around, and our first yellow arises here at lap 21. Of course, Cameron McCone started pretty high up in the field in row number 2. He's been one of the biggest losers on the opening run of the race. We'll see exactly what happened to the driver of the 028. As he was behind the 009 of Jake Daniels, and I think maybe here could have been a problem if he gets into Daniels, or maybe just went around all by himself. Actually, no, it was Daniels who went sideways, and then McCone almost had a trip into pit lane as he was trying to avoid. It's very hard to avoid here the dirt side of things, especially when somebody just does that. They get a little bit too sideways, they chase the car down the surface, and then you have no other choice but to brace for impact. That's exactly what happened. You can see some of the front end damage on McCone's machine. Not enough to warrant any engine damage, or not enough to really take him out of the race per se, but the 028 obviously going to be down a lot of track position. He is going to be 12th on the racetrack. He is, though, still on the lead lap. Chase Gibbons and Nate Nepper are the only 2 drivers 1 lap down or more. So already with our caution out, lap number 21, we skip ahead a couple of laps. Lap 25 will be our target for the restart, as I believe next time through, Pace Truck will make its way down to the entrance of pit road, and we'll be back under green here from I-55 in Pevely, Missouri. Just to let you know for a moment that our broadcast of the WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Designs is brought to you by Dynamo Designs, your one-stop shop for all of your iRacing design needs. They can cater to any style you like and can ensure you will look good on track, all starting at just $5 per scheme. You can message Josh Patterson on Discord at Josh Patterson #9212 or on Facebook at JP Designs to get your iRacing scheme today. Green flag back in the air from I-55. Granada and Collins, your first row. They remain side by side into turn 3. And Patterson in that Dynamo Designs number 27 or 02. The blue car going on the inside gets tagged a little bit by the 04 at the exit of turn 4. And now here comes Ryan Martin, the full field packed in together on the back straightaway. And obviously not a lot of places you can go here at I-55 as Martin has a huge send in 1, slides up the racetrack, and of course Patterson will stay down low. And how about Ethan Harrison, who's been in the top 5 basically all night up until our first caution as Neppert goes around, and the 02 of Patterson gets turned out of turn 4. And of course that does bring our caution, our second one tonight, as Patterson got hit by Ethan Harrison, I believe, and went for a quick 360. Luckily, he'll be able to keep his spot, but Nate Nepper in the 40 had gone around first. And those two bring out our second caution only a handful of laps after our first one. On lap number 21, we'll see exactly what happened as they were all closing in on each other. First through 4th, that's Ryan Martin up top. We saw him slide up high in 1 and 2, but I think it was right here. Uses the bottom, gets loose, and tried to avoid Neppert in the 40 who was around, and then just got hit by Patterson. Of course, like I mentioned over at Kokomo with Keelan Belshaw, it's very hard to avoid contact when your drivers are so close together. When you hop on the brakes, the car is still going to slide because it's on that dirt surface. So what happened there with Patterson, we'll try and see exactly what happened to the 40 of Nate Nepper. But just gone back on the track surface. There's the entire field. And just went around. by his lonesome on the 19 degrees of banking. I'm not sure exactly what happened to Neppert or why that even was the case, but either way, we're back under the green flag, lap number 31 of 75, roughly halfway to our closing laps. And Collins this time a better breakaway from Granada and company. Patterson again getting his spot back after the quick spin under caution. He works to the inside on Paul Granada, but they're spinning behind. That's Logan Hartman. Matthew McDonald around with a caution wave. Answer right now is no. McDonald with some heavy front end damage, and they're almost blocking the track. Now the caution finally comes out. The field will come out of turn 4, and our third caution comes out in the span of just a couple of moments. So we'll see what happened between Hartman in the 70 and McDonald in the 96. Of course, there were 3 wide. That's Cameron McCone who caused our first caution. Matthew McDonald on the top side, and I think it might have been contact with the 001 of Williams, or maybe just a situation of McDonald getting a little bit too eager, and a huge slam on behalf of the 009 rips the front end bumper off of McDonald's car. And that was Jake Daniels who was in the middle of that and slammed into McDonald's machine as they're able to close in on the rest of the field. And we again will have a restart here in the final 40 laps of tonight's race from I-55. So Collins will be up front. Paul Granada and Josh Patterson will round out your top 3. Of course, given the fact that there was a caution within 5 laps of the restart, WORC rules indicate that if that does happen, the restart will be single file, although I believe race control is deciding to just make it a double file restart, and Granada will hold the inside. Collins will have to stay strong up top if he wants to keep P1. Pace truck is off, green flag in the air, and an early jump from Collins. They're 3 wide for P1 going into turn 1 for a moment, but Collins finally clears and has a good look at turn 3 as they try to get themselves settled around the top 5. Ryan Martin underneath the 77 of Harrison, and everybody roughly 3 wide coming out of turn 4. There's the 004 Dakota Denyu, did solidly in the heats tonight. And now he works to the very top of the racetrack. We questioned whether anybody was really going to go up there, and it's working for Denyu right now. You're right on board with the 004. You see the battle up in front between second and third, Granada and Patterson, and just look at the run that Denyu gets off of the corners. Remain even with Patterson coming out of the corner. Patterson will try a send underneath Granada. Oh, and a slam into the wall. That may not help Denyu here on his route to the top. He remains up high. Ethan Harrison, Henry Clapperton gang now starting to take notice, so they're also going up the track as well. Brayson Collins doing the same thing. Denyu trying to stay as high as possible to get out of the rear bumper of Paul Granada. He is still side by side with the 0-2 of Patterson, and a slam up the track in 1 and 2 will give Patterson some momentum, but it'll break off, and here comes Granada back in front for P2. They're still going side by side, and as they do that, it has led Collins to an 0.8 of a second gap, but the caution comes out. And I think Hartman and McDonald again in a rumble in the middle of the corner. They both are slow in front of the main field, so we'll see exactly what happened and whether it did involve these two, and I think it did. Once again, they were at the tail end of the field, again around the same competition as the last yellow. 009 Jake Daniels, the 028 Cameron McCone. On the outside of McCone here, that red, white, and blue, and then, oh yeah, another hit there for the 70 of Hartman, and it looks like McDonald just has some connection issues, didn't really know where he was, and so as Hartman went around right about there, he tagged into the 96 and spun him around. It has not been a fortunate night for either one of those machines, now laying back 11th and 12th on the racetrack. Of course, they are still on the lead lap, but they have not had a good evening here from Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55. And again, we will remain under caution in the final 31 laps of this race. Telemetry tells us if we stay green, we'll go 8 more minutes on the clock. That's how fast these dirt races go. And just as quickly as we got that yellow between Hartman and McDonald, is just as quick as we'll get the lights out on the pace truck. And we will go green flag racing again, with Brayson Collins and Granada sharing the front row once more. Of course, Collins will have control on this next restart coming to the last 30 laps here from Pebbly, Missouri. Green flag back in the air. Collins with the nice jump into turn 1. And again, a mirror image of the last restart. Patterson trying to fend underneath Josh Patterson, or Paul Granada rather, up top. 004, Dakota Denu trying to punch his way into the battle. A slow corner there for Patterson. Will lose him some ground and get him side by side with Denu in the 004. Some drivers hitting the wall. How about Henry Clappert putting his way into the top 5, getting around Ethan Harrison and the 001, Braxton Williams trying to get to the outside in that MRN machine. Some contact around the mid-pack. Patterson weaves his way to second, and now Denu tries to work the very bottom of the racetrack on Granada, and they're side by side another row deep. 34-77, Clappert and Harrison. Also add in Williams, maybe add in Ryan Martin, almost 3 wide. Denu clears that battle for 5th. And we'll see if he can catch up to Granada and the gang. They've only allowed Brayson Collins to run away. He's about 0.6 of a second above your second place car, Josh Patterson, the pole sitter here tonight. Remember, time is ticking down to the final 25 laps. Here from I-55, they continue to go at it for position around 4th on back. That's Clappert. In the backside of this battle, Denu and Harrison. Oh, and Harrison gets loose on the bottom of the racetrack and loses all that ground. There goes Williams. There goes Martin. There maybe goes McCone on the top. They shuffle and they stack, and Williams Clappert goes around. I believe that should be a caution flag. Yes, it is. Yellow waves with 24 left in round number 4. And you saw it happen right there. It was a similar instance to many of the crashes over at Kokomo, where the whole field just stacks together. It all started with Ethan Harrison getting loose and chasing it to the bottom of the racetrack, but it was really right here. Martin, Clappert, and Williams in the middle, just getting sandwiched, and they all hit each other at the worst possible time. Clappert goes around. And we'll see on board here with Clappert as he gets stuck in the sandwich. There's a look at Harrison on the far left of the screen. He's gone now, but it's this contact right here you'll get from Williams. Right there is where he gets the tap, and around he goes, and nothing he could do to avoid. Under caution once again in the final 21 laps of round number 4, the WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Designs. We will double them up once again. Lights are out on the iRacing official pace truck, so it will be once again Collins on P1, with a different face in P number 2, your pole sitter, the 02 of Josh Patterson. Green flag back in the air. Can we stay green for the final 20? We'll just have to see as they're 3 wide for second. Granada through the middle, Denu up top, and they single out back to turn 3. You gotta watch that 004, Denu being dangerous in the last sector of this race. Here comes Ryan Martin now, across over to the inside, failed. Now here comes McCone to the outside, a large train of cars around 5th on back, trying to take position away. And we talked about the last couple of restarts, how easy they were for Collins to step away from the competition. In the 5, we'll have some lap traffic. That is Logan Hartman in the 70, but he lets the entire field by, similar to what Neppert did a little bit earlier on in this race. But Patterson picking up the pace last time by, 15.5, Collins at 15.6. So Patterson is there into the final 20 here from I-55. And you gotta wonder, if you're Collins here, how do you play the defense? Do you roll the high side and pinch them down to the bottom, or do you just try to do whatever you can to block that inside and force them to go up top? You're on board with the 02 of Josh Patterson, and yes, he is getting the run, but it needs that entry speed. As he slaps the outside wall, it's gonna lose him a little more time as a caution comes out. That is Dakota Denu in the 04. We talked about him moving his way up to the field, and now he's got to do it all over again in the last 15. As he brings out our most recent yellow. Have to imagine might have been another stack up or a little bit of contact that sent him around. And remember, this track is slickened up significantly. There's really no gripped up lane here at this track with the amount of laps that they ran in the heat races, the warm up, and of course the 61 laps so far in the feature. This is all by himself right in front of Ryan Martin, and I think maybe either a tap, yes, a tap from the 9 machine, the Limeade Media car gets into him. And then just a harmless spin, obviously does a good job of not coming back up to traffic, and everybody does a solid job of avoiding that spinning 004, and Denu on this restart will restart 10th. As a result of that, he was as high as 3rd on the racetrack as he was getting around Paul Granada for a moment. We will once again double them up, so 1 to green here with the last 13 laps on tap here. It's been a very quick race. We had an absence of yellows up until about halfway. And now since yellows have bred the other cautions to come out, we'll see if we can stay green flag racing, and whether we'll get a winner out of all of this. Collins and Patterson again. Your row number 1 pace truck is down. Green flag back in the air. Final 13 laps from I-55 as Collins breaks away at a turn 2. Patterson trying to hold strong. They're wrecking all the way in the back. Denu involved in it. Same deal for Daniels and Clappard. Will the caution come out? Answer is no. We will stay green in the last 12 laps, and Patterson finds a nose inside off the corner and hits Collins. Collins trying to play as much defense as possible. Paul Granada may end up in this battle as well. Patterson getting very close and getting intimate with that rear bumper, but just cannot make the move on the inside. Collins breaking it off before Patterson can just get the run off of the 19 degrees of banking. A better set here for Patterson, but a better middle and exit for Collins that time by. 10 laps to go from I-55. And now here comes the driver of the 04, Paul Granada. He's been hanging around the top 3 on these last couple of restarts, and he hasn't done much to cement himself as a potential winner in the last half of the race, but he may do so. There's a mistake arising out of either 2 of these drivers, the 02 or the 5, and it'll stay single between all 3 of them. Ethan Harrison, the last one, over in 4th. They go battling for 6 on back. That is Cameron McCone entering the top 5 for the first time. Ryan Martin going on the inside. Matthew McDonald, the 001, Braxton Williams, they're going at it for position. And now here comes Patterson back again inside on Collins in turn 3. Boy, Patterson trying all that he can to stay underneath Collins, but one mistake may cost him that spot. Paul Granada is waiting there on the backside of this conversation, and he may have something to say as the track is basically slickened up all the way. And it's all about how these drivers can conserve their cars and keep it as planted as possible. Again, Patterson down low, coming to the final 5 laps here from Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55. Granada trying to do something to get into second, but Collins holding on for the lead to try to get his first win. And again, mentioned the lack of Jamie Massey, the 2-time winner in the opening first 2 races. Aiden Kirker, the winner last week at Port Royal. And we've seen Patterson do well before in the season. Same deal for Collins, both of them respective dirt racers at heart. And Patterson trying to nab this win away from his fellow WORC driver, as Collins will come across the line for 3 laps to go from I-55, and Patterson's going to need to do something drastic if he wants to get underneath this 5. We've seen them be physical before for the lead earlier on in tonight's race. The question is Patterson willing to do it as they'll come off the corner? A better exit, but it'll even out. 2 laps to go from I-55. And a wreck! Around goes one of the drivers there. That was Logan Hartman. Actually, no, not Logan Hartman. Jake Daniels, I believe. There might have been a tow from Hartman. Clappard is around, and the caution comes out with 3 laps to go. We'll see what happened. I believe it may have started. Forgive me, it was not Logan Hartman. It was this duo right here. Clappard and Daniels going around, and the whole field getting close to him. That's the whole field right there, threading the needle and getting away from the issue. And we will have a restart inside. 3 laps to go from I-55. Of course, Logan Hartman, not the greatest race tonight. He's been docked on pit road, 20 laps down. Henry Clappard, Jake Daniels have also been listed as 1 lap down as the field went by them before the caution waved. And so we'll see if this race ends under yellow or whether we'll have a chance to settle this in, and I believe we will. So final 3 laps, or final 2 rather, will be decided here from I-55. And again, Collins, Patterson, your front row. It'll be Josh Patterson brought back into this battle. Or rather, Ethan Harrison brought back with Paul Granada in P4. They're trying to settle themselves out for the rest of the field. But here will be what may be our final restart here tonight from Pebbly, Missouri. Green flag back in the air. 2 laps to go from I-55. And here comes Patterson to the inside. Harrison getting loose in the middle of the corner will open the door 3 wide. McCone and Ryan Martin trying their best to get as many positions as possible. But Collins to the white flag for the final time. Patterson with a huge send in 1 and 2. He'll slam into the 5, and around he will go. Back in 2nd and 3rd. Granada will take over P2, but Collins holds on, and Brayson Collins wins round 4 of the WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour, presented by Dynamo Designs from I-55. You got to give credit to the defense by Collins, holding off the hard-charging 0-2 of Patterson. There's Dakota Denu. Patterson with a mistake. He did not go around. He ends up finishing 3rd. As Brayson Collins will celebrate here from I-55 in a miraculous way to hold off the field in the last half of the race ever since he took the lead. Granada there to offer his congratulations. And Brayson Collins gets his first win in this WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Design season. We talked about Jamie Massey winning the first 2 and dominating Volusia and Kokomo together. Aiden Kirker with a dominant performance at Port Royal. But tonight, it was probably the most even we've seen the entire season, especially the top 3. Granada and Patterson giving it all that they had in the final half of that race. But it was Brayson Collins to the checkered flag first here in 79 laps completed from Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55. We'll take a look at the full field results, and here is basically most of the field apart from 4. Brayson Collins gets his first win of the 2022 season. We'll have the 5 in victory lane. Paul Granada ends up in 2nd, made the last lap pass on Josh Patterson, who got into the side of Collins and got loose, chasing it down the racetrack. Patterson ends up 3rd. We'll talk to all 3 of them before we end up covering the rest of our bases here for the rest of the season and here on the KBueno Racing Network tonight. Ethan Harrison finishes in P4. Cameron McCone in the 028. A great comeback from bringing out one of our first cautions tonight. He rounds out your top 5. A solid effort for Braxton Williams, and we talked about him a good amount tonight in some battles. The 001 is able to survive for P6. Matthew McDonald had a rough start to the heat, but somewhat picked it up. He ends up P7 tonight in the 96. Ryan Martin ends up 8th. Dakota Denu had a strong start, but just fell back after his caution that he went around. He ends up 9th. Henry Clapperton in the 34 went around with Logan Hartman, or rather not Logan Hartman, Jake Daniels on the last yellow, and he and Daniels both end up 1 lap down, 10th and 11th. Logan Hartman quit this race with 24 laps to go. He's 24 laps down in 12th. Chase Gibbons and Nate Nepper, 2 of the first DNFs here tonight in the I-55 race. 13th and 14th, they will be at the end of tonight's event. So all the dust settling around Brayson Collins in the 5. Your winner here tonight from I-55, and Pebbly, Missouri will have a chance to talk with the driver of the number 5 machine who goes to victory lane for the very first time this season. And Brayson, what a defensive maneuver to keep yourself ahead of Paul Granada and Josh Patterson trying to take the lead away from you. First of all, walk us through how this race started for you after being in 2nd, the great battle for the lead that you guys had for a while, and then all the cautions coming out, and your way to defend for your first win of the season.
Man, well, thank you, Kenneth, for broadcasting. It was definitely a super fun race. Obviously, top 3 finishers, top 4 finishers, actually. We're all good friends, so really fun to race it out with your friends. It always makes it a lot more fun. Early on, I messed up in qualifying. I overdrove it a little bit off of 2, and ultimately the little bit that I overdrove cost me the pole. So started heat 2 off, was really strong in the heat. So I was able to start front row, and then early on we were really just dicing it up between me, the 04, the 02. We were 3 wide at points of the race. I believe Ryan Martin was right there with us. Ethan Harrison, I think, was right there with us. So overall, up in the around the top 5 area, it was some good fun racing. I got into Josh really early there, felt bad. Josh shipped me back. I kind of mouthed him a little bit for it. Was like, hey man, just drive me up 3 lanes. But ultimately, I know he didn't mean it, and kind of a heat of the moment thing. We kept it clean, and at the end there, I knew Josh was gonna go in for the send. I knew it. I knew he was gonna send me. So I prepared for it. I appreciate it for being clean, though. Like, he didn't just try to drive it into my door. He didn't try to just drive it into my left rear and turn me. He tried to make a move for the win. Couldn't quite get it done, but he kept it clean. Paul kept it clean, too. We had that issue with a lap car. He kind of, like, slid up to the middle, and Paul hit him, and he was the leader. I was in 2nd, Josh in 3rd. And we all coordinated really well. Hey, let's lift off, get back off a little bit, get back straight. So it was really fun to work with those guys, really fun to battle them, and ultimately, I had a fun race. I wish we had less cautions, but ultimately, none of the cautions were really anything I could do. So kind of just have to play the cards right, and ultimately tonight it seems like I did.
And this track tonight, of course, apart from the other 3 races that we had to start this season, it felt like things were one way or another. You would have one driver dominating the field. You would have one line being the fastest around the racetrack and everybody trying their best to get to that line. Was there a lot more equality here at this I-55 track? I know this is one of the newest on the iRacing platform, so obviously a lot of detail work went into this track and how it operates, much like it does in real life. But was this probably the most even that you've seen the battles all season long?
I probably would say so. Probably the closest racing we've seen since the season opener at Volusia. And Volusia, I mean, man, I got dumped at Volusia out of second place, ended up like 8th there. Kokomo, I just flat out sucked. I tried to run the bottom of the heat race when it wasn't there, ended up finishing last, had to drive through the field. Last week, I was supposed to get 4th, and I got shipped out of the racetrack to the moon on the last lap and ended up 9th. So I'm finally glad that like I was able to break the bad luck for a race. And yeah, I mean, this is probably the closest racing we've seen most of the season. Kokomo Kokomo's a track as small as it is. The racing isn't necessarily close. It's one of my favorite tracks, but personally, the racing isn't that close, especially when you had Jamie Massey wheeling that car the way he was. I mean, that racing wasn't that close. So I'd say this is the closest racing we've had since the season opening race at Volusia. Last week was close, but as you mentioned, there's different lines for different tracks that we're running. Port Royal is right up against that outside guardrail that they've got there, and so it's kind of hard to pass. And I was on a controller last week. I was out of town racing on my laptop on some bad graphics on the controller. So it was definitely an experience trying to wheel that thing around. And so I mean, you kind of balance things between the different tracks. Yeah, I would definitely say it's some of the closest racing we've had. We had a guy middle of the race and I was trying the wall and it seemed like it was working. So I was kind of waiting for Josh to try the wall, but he was really wanting to make that bottom work where some of the tack was still there. So my goal was kind of just to run the middle. I actually kind of had a lucky opportunity. The dirt street stock official race, the C-class race, ran right before this, and I know Paul, Josh, and Matthew McDonald. They ran some laps during that race, so I spotted them. I spotted them for that thing, and I kind of saw like what lines the leaders were running. Paul finished like second in that race. Josh was pretty quick. I think he finished third in that race. So I was able to kind of see like what lines worked, and I think that may have helped me. Of course, they had the experience getting some laps on track too. So ultimately, that kind of put in for some practice for us, and probably helped towards the clean racing and the close racing here tonight.
So you become the third different winner here in this WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Designs. You join the likes of Jamie Massey, who won 2 races, and of course Aiden Kirker, who was the winner last week at Port Royal Speedway. What's next? Bristol Dirt next week, Charlotte Dirt Track the week after for the championship. What's the mindset for those last 2 races of the campaign?
Honestly, I didn't really think I was in the championship fight with the 3 bad finishes I had at the start. But I mean, if I win races, then maybe I do have a shot at something. So we'll see how that all plays out. I still might be a little too far back for that championship, unfortunately, but that's just how racing is. You get a bad string of races, you get a good string of races. It just all kind of depends. Bristol, back when we ran the Dirt Late Model Tour last winter, I led the first 25 laps and then I wrecked myself. So hopefully I can replicate the whole leading laps thing without the whole wrecking myself thing, and we can put something together for that race. Charlotte is a track I've had some luck there in the officials. I've won a couple top split dirt street stock races, but ultimately I don't know how comfortable I feel at that track. So the mindset, I'm going out there with kind of a mindset like I'm still in the championship hunt, but I'm not racing for points. I'm racing to be fast. I'm going to go out there, try to do the best I can, see if I can pull in a winner or two to end the season.
Well, I think tonight definitely showed that you are fast here in these dirt street stocks here in this WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Designs. Brayson, before we let you go on tonight's win, anybody you want to thank for making it all possible?
Yeah, I got to thank obviously Dynamo Designs first off. That's Josh Patterson. He raced me very clean tonight. And overall, him and we run Dynamo Designs. He definitely does a lot more of the designing than I do. But ultimately, I got to thank him. He came on. We're sponsoring this Dirt Street Stock Tour here. He's been a sponsor of WORC for like over 2 years now. I mean, he's sponsored many series, many races. So thankful for him. Limeade Media as well, always a sponsor of the league, and I'm thankful for them as well. I got to thank tonight's sponsor, Hartman Designs. He came on board. So that was awesome. We haven't really had any sponsors. We haven't really promoted sponsorship opportunities for this season. So it was really cool to have him come on board. So thank you to Logan Hartman. He raced tonight, as well as Hartman Designs for coming on board as a sponsor. I appreciate him showing up and racing and helping us out here. Got to thank, like I said, Limeade Media, but follow them on Instagram at Limeade Media and their subsidiary accounts at Limeade Film and at Limeade Graphics. I've got to thank EVC Automotive. Gosh, who else do I have to thank? Keystone Corner on Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. I've got to thank all the admins. Paul raced me clean. Ryan raced clean tonight. Henry was here tonight, so appreciate him for showing up. This scheme is a replica of my uncle's car that he runs in real life. So it's always cool to run a scheme like that, and it's kind of made me known. I'm one of the only guys out there who runs a pink car. I mean, I guess that's why my uncle runs a pink car. He's one of the few out there who runs it. So it's really cool to have this opportunity to come out here, run the scheme, and win races in it. So the last person I got to thank, Kenneth, is you. Appreciate you coming out here and broadcasting. And I know we've kind of had this 50-50 schedule between you and Willie Owens, who's also done a great job in the booth. Both of you guys seem like you're following each other, following the league closely, even for the races you're not broadcasting. So it's really awesome to see you guys staying connected with the league as a whole. And obviously you guys are showing that you're putting in work for the league. So I appreciate it. I mean, it's awesome to have you guys here. And Kenneth, we've had a sort of a long-standing partnership. You've done a few special events. You did our winter series last year for the asphalt. Hopefully we can continue it, man. But I appreciate you being here and showing up, and we'll see you for Charlotte.
Well, I certainly appreciate the kind words, first of all, Brayson, and of course, want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us here in I-55 Victory Lane. The pink car, the colorful car, gets a win with it here tonight in Pebbly, Missouri. Of course, Brayson, on behalf of our team at the KBueno Racing Network, want to thank you so much, and a huge congratulations on tonight's win here in round number 4. We'll see you at Charlotte.
Thank you, Kenneth. We'll see you at Charlotte, man.
So, Brayson Collins, your race winner here tonight from Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55, did a solid job to hold off the top 3 or the rest of it, and the driver who comes home in second is the 04 of Paul Granada. And Paul, you were basically in this top 3 battle all evening long. You, Brayson, Josh, going at it lap after lap. First of all, give us the experience of what it was like to race you guys. Brayson told us, of course, you guys are all friends. You guys have known each other for a while. What was it like racing with those guys for a majority of the race, and of course all the way to the end in the checkered flag?
Honestly, it was really a lot of fun there, especially when you're racing friends like that. Close friends too. I mean, we all met up at Bristol and had a great time, Martinsville. But yeah, no, I just I wish there was something I could have done there. I mean, second's cool and all. I mean, I would have finished third if Josh didn't send it there. So, I mean, I'll take P2, but I kind of wanted P1.
And in that last sector, I know a lot of cautions came out to sort of stifle your progress as you were kind of holding on to P3, but were there any plans in your head of what you were going to try to do maybe different to get underneath Josh Patterson or maybe get by Brayson Collins? Were there anything rolling through your head about, okay, this is how I'm going to try and get around them, and I'll try to make this plan in the final laps?
Yeah, I mean, once I lost the lead there about halfway through that race and I got stuck in the bottom, I knew that the top lane was definitely before the line to restart in, and I knew getting underneath Josh was not going to work. I knew if I could get Josh to battle Brayson, I would have a shot. I mean, I got to the back of Josh, but I knew if me and Josh battling would just let Brayson pull away anyways. So I was just kind of hoping some contact between those two would allow something, either the top or the bottom, just to open up to drive through. But, I mean, Brayson, with being in control of the restarts and everything, having to watch him figure out how to do it and then go. I mean, I was more focused on just trying to get back to the top so I could run my lane and just hook the top into the middle like Brayson was doing on the restarts. Once I got clear, I was able to run him down, but I just needed some more green flag laps still. The cautions did not help me there at the end.
So you end up getting a P2 here tonight from Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55, and now you get to move on to the final 2 races of this 2022 season, the dirt track at Bristol Motor Speedway, and then the dirt track at Charlotte. What are your thoughts about those 2 tracks and how you feel you're going to do there?
Well, Bristol, I'll be in the broadcast booth, but Charlotte, I'll be back in the racetrack, going for the win, I guess. You know, it's been the attitude all season long. I knew I was going to be broadcasting half the season with Willie, so I just been kind of going out here and racing for wins, and well, it's been a lot of fun racing for wins, but I haven't got my win yet.
Hey, we do like that double life, though. Broadcasting and racing at the same time. I wish I could say the same, but I'm horrendous at racing on the iRacing server. So that's a different conversation for a different day. But Paul, of course, a fantastic finish here tonight. P2 from I-55. Before we let you go on to the next couple of races to end this season, anybody you want to thank?
I want to thank Bryce and Collins for putting this on, allowing me to be an admin of it. Also racing tonight, that was pretty fun. Josh, for making my paint scheme. I know I don't have it on, but he does make my paint schemes, and is a great friend. Matthew for being out there and helping us out. Henry, Ryan Martin again helping us out. You for putting this broadcast on, and just everybody that comes out here and races with us. It's been a great time. Excited to get ready for the winter series. Now I know those news is about to drop here pretty soon, but everybody that comes out and races with us week in, week out, and honestly just have a great time.
No doubt, a lot of excitement for the winter series later on this year. Hopefully we get to be a part of that here on the KBueno Racing Network. But of course, Paul, I want to send you a large congratulations on tonight's second place finish from I-55. And of course, wishing you the best of luck in the booth next week at Bristol Motor Speedway. And of course, we'll hope to see you back in for the championship finale at the dirt track at Charlotte. Best of luck, and we'll see you then.
Thank you.
That's Paul Granata in the 04, charging through to second place at the final laps here at I-55 in Pebbly, Missouri. We'll get to our final interview segment of tonight. Our third place finisher, Josh Patterson, who was trying to get around Brayson Collins in the last couple laps. I know the cautions, Josh, didn't really help your progress to the front, much like it did with anybody else's to try to get around that 5. But you had the last shots in the last 2. What was going through your mind, and what did you feel you needed there to get around Collins for the win?
I don't know. Needed another line, honestly. It's just a bit of a one-lane groove at the end there tonight. I know the top came in for a couple laps, but I never really ventured up there. I think I definitely had the pace on him. I qualified in front of him and was up there until, the beginning, the scrap in the beginning there. But yeah, I think we definitely had the pace, just came up a little short tonight. He did a hell of a job up front there. He, I couldn't get past him, and he was able to hold a really good line. So all congrats to him. He did a great job.
And so you were trying to get around Collins. Obviously didn't work, but still, I think a very fast race overall for you in this O2 machine. You could say the same, obviously, for the 04 and the 5, but you were one of the standout drivers, and you dominated that first heat, and you started on pole. What was it like to be at the front of the field and to command for a while, especially given the fact that this race had started to dynamically change over time with the track, and how, of course, the competition started to rise with Granata, Collins, and yourself?
I don't know. It was just really fun up front battling with them because I don't know. I've never been able to race people so hard and make so much contact in a league race setting like this. So it was really funny to just go toe to toe with them, and I just enjoyed it a lot. But it was definitely good not to be in that back section. There were a lot of cautions coming out through the middle part of that race, and I saw the majority of them behind me. I know I did get involved in one of them. I took a spin. Somehow it didn't put me to the back, which I am very grateful for because I was able to start fourth and get it back to third right away. But yeah, just battling the two of them because, it was just pretty much us three. We were the fastest 3-hour race. So yeah, definitely a lot of fun. Definitely better to be in the front than the back in that scenario.
So a solid finish over at Kokomo a couple of weeks back, a 4th place finish at Port Royal, and now a 3rd place finish rather here at I-55. What's next for Bristol and Charlotte, the 2 last tracks to finalize the season? What are your thoughts about those 2 tracks, and what your mindset is and what your game plan is going to be to try and get some wins in the season, and of course to try and contend for the championship?
I didn't even know those were the last 2 tracks. Those are relatively similar tracks. I feel like they're both longer. I'm not too good at Bristol, but I've been able to run up front for the majority of the season here. So I should have a pretty good shot at the championship. We're leading the points right now, so that's always good. I think that race should have extended my points lead as Mulder wasn't here. So hopefully I can keep charging up at the front like this, continue to get top 3s, keep myself up on top of the points, and, come home with a championship in 2 weeks' time.
You know what? It would be insane for a championship Josh Patterson on the dirt side after a couple of months back when you went away with that WORC Dynamo Deisgns National Series stock car championship over at Homestead Miami Speedway. We'll see what happens in the final 2. But Josh, before we let you go here tonight from I-55, anybody you want to thank for making tonight's run possible?
Oh, I got to thank a ton of people. Everybody at Dynamo Racing, powered by Limeade Media, both of those two independent groups. Dunk Pools, Vulture Racing Engines, Keystone Corner, Patriot Clutches, EVC Automotive, Belfour Property Restoration. I got to thank Brayson for running the league tonight, everybody for coming on track, and you for broadcasting every other week. You do a great job in the booth, and we love to have you.
Well, we certainly appreciate it here at the KBueno Racing Network. Josh, of course, on behalf of our team, want to send you your congratulations here on the third place finish. A very solid job here tonight, although that last pass didn't really necessarily work, but still, I think it reflective of the performance you put in here from I-55, and we hope to see you at Bristol. I know Woes is going to have the coverage over there, but we'll see you at the championship race at the dirt track at Charlotte. Best of luck.
Yep, thanks, Kenneth. See you there.
So that's Josh Patterson in the 02, the last driver of our interview segment on this evening's broadcast on the KBueno Racing Network. So Brayson Collins becomes our third different winner. He joins Aiden Kirker and Jamie Massey as the two other winners so far this season. Of course, Patterson still in contention for the championship, and still a lot of unknowns going into the final two races. Next week, we'll have coverage on the Woes channel for the WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Deisgns. The series continues at the dirt track at Bristol Motor Speedway. One of the most unique dirt tracks in all of the service and all of the world, we'll tell you that much. Coverage will begin around 7 p.m. Eastern. Of course, you can go to the Woes YouTube channel, WOES, that is for you. On the YouTube side, you could also search up WOES WORC Dirt Street Stock, and they'll show up for you. You can go on the channel, subscribe there, and of course, watch the penultimate round before we're back in two weeks' time for the finale of the WORC Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Deisgns. It'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern. You'll find it right here for championship round live on the KBueno Racing Network. So for Brayson Collins, Josh Patterson, Paul Granada, Ryan Martin, all the owners, all the admins, and everybody that makes this WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Deisgns happen each and every week. And on behalf of our crew and all of us here at the KBueno Racing Network, for Charlie Beyer, for Keelan Belsha, for Francisco Bacalhau, and for myself, Kenneth Bueno, tonight here up in the booth, we say so long from Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55, and congratulations to Brayson Collins on his first win this season. We'll see you at the championship in Charlotte, North Carolina.